Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. Episode 250. Woo!
To all the haters out there.
Major milestone that everyone's been waiting on.
We're still here, everybody.
Right? You can't get rid of us that quick.
Like herpes, we just keep coming back.
Right? We are also now 80 days until kickoff. 8-0. This is a tough week because we didn't loot, like the left number didn't move. It went from 87 to 80. So it feels, but now it's just going to be a lot of just like clunk, just big chunks getting closer and closer.
I think it won't do it again until like in the 40s.
It is like a nice milestone for our milestone show, right?
Yeah.
Quarter millennia, nice round 80, nice, very round number. There's not very rounder numbers than 80. It's like, it's boob. If you turn it sideways, it's boobs on a nice little pooch, you know, nice and rotund. Nice little girl. So I would be doing a cool like soundboard and celebration music, but I can't because I am in Saudi Arabia. Just got in after 30 hours of flight. Got in about 3 hours ago. Got the internet working. Stitched together a studio. But I'm revitalized. I'm pumped to talk a little Raiders with you, Soto.
Yeah, you got about 45 minutes till you start to crash.
It's gonna crash.
You got to hammer the show.
and this is the thing. No booze in this entire country.
Yeah, that's gonna make it rough.
Muslim country, and that's always been like. So if you work in TV, like live TV sports, you're a drunk because you're on the road all the time. So you're just like, oh, I'm going from West Coast to East Coast. I got 5 hours. Let me get a couple drinks in so I can fall asleep. I need to adjust to the time zone. Nope, completely dry. It is so dry that there was at least 8 or 9 times on the flight. So I had a layover in Atlanta, layover in Amsterdam, and then I'm in Riyadh. On the flight from Amsterdam to Riyadh, about 6 hours, they said about 10 times, if you have any empty bottles of wine or empty like beer cans that we were serving, please give them to us so we can throw them away. They didn't say why, but I know why. It's because if you even have like an empty wine bottle, you can get in trouble in Saudi Arabia. They're so strict about no booze.
That's freaking nuts.
It's wild, right? So, like, this is my first time in Saudi Arabia. I've been to Abu Dhabi a bunch of times. And in Abu Dhabi, you can drink. Like, it's
it's less strict over there.
They're less strict with, like, law, like what you can do. But their internet restrictions are through the roof. Like, you can't access social media. You can't watch porn. Like, I had to, like, do all this bootleg stuff to be able to do the show. Saudi Arabia, I thought, oh, way stricter. How am I going to? I'm going to need a good VPN. Can access anything. You can watch anything online, but they're super strict in real life.
I know you've already accessed some stuff.
It's all available. So it's weird. Like one is like, we're going to hold down the internet. The other one's like, we're going to hold down real life. I don't know which one's harder. This no booze thing is going to be a trip.
Yeah, man, it's going to be tough. You're going to have to figure out something to do. Like breathe into a freaking paper bag or something a couple times just to kind of give yourself a little bit of a high.
Like you always wonder like how all these Muslim UFC fighters are so good. It's because they don't have booze, women, or gambling. Like they just train. They have no distractions. That explains.
Oh,
like,
right.
I can like start like reading a book or like working out more because I don't have booze in me.
You gotta forgive me. Bowling for money is my only vice. All right, 2 vices. 2 vices. That's still really good.
I think we've quoted that movie more than any other.
It's such a great movie.
Which one?
Which one of a movie is it? Please
no.
Get a Sharpie. Get a Sharpie and just color the bottom of a paper bag and just breathe it maybe about 15, 20 deep breaths. I think you'd be.
It's like in middle school, you're like inventing ways to get high. It's like, oh, if you just boil a bunch of banana peels and drink it, it'll make you high. You're like getting real desperate out here.
Oh
this is either going to be this UFC event in Saudi Arabia is either going to be the best or worst produced show ever because the entire crew can't drink. So they're either going to be just like sharp as hell, just cranking everything because none of them are
going to be on each other's nerves, bro. I'm telling you.
Or everyone's going to be everyone's going to have withdrawals. Just like, shut up. Don't touch me.
Everyone's going to be on edge, dude.
Okay.
I know. I've done this before.
why are the cameras shaking? Like, why is that? Oh, because all the cameraman's got the shakes.
It's like zooming in and out because it's like freaking rocking back and forth. They're just rocking, shaking. Oh God, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's I don't know how I'll survive. We'll figure out a way.
You'll be fine.
We haven't done a question of the day in a while. Seems like it's time to do it.
All right.
Now that OTAs are over, mini camp's over, we're going to head into real training camp in July. Nice little middle ground, because this answer we're starting to get a closer answer to what the question of the day is, but there's still a chance for that answer to change. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how in win now mode should the Raiders be? 10 being sign every free agent you can, front load all the contracts, trade away all your draft picks for players right now, shoving all your chips into the basket to win the Super Bowl this season. That would be 10. 1 would be trade away every veteran over 27, accumulate draft picks as you can. Fire sale, just like accumulate picks, accumulate draft capital, accumulate cap space to try to win 2-3 years from now. All right. Scale of 1 to 10. Where should the Raiders be, Soto? Tough one, huh?
Yeah, because it's like I want them to do everything they can without really going into the future too much. Mm-hmm. Like sign guys, yes. Like we have cap space, sign guys. Don't get silly, but sign some guys to try to win now, but don't have to mortgage anything moving forward. So I would say like a 5-6 maybe.
I'm kind of with you. I'm more win now-y than not. And again, like when we're using these terms, this is more of like a Tom Telesco thing than an AP thing. Like the coach, you still want them playing their hardest, everyone playing their best, trying to win every game. When you're the GM, you are an asset manager. You need to have the foresight to be like, okay, we got a Super Bowl contender here. Let's do everything we can to win, because that's how you win championships. Or look in the mirror. Let's be honest. It probably won't be our year this season, but it could be our year next season if we're very smart about how we handle things. So this isn't like, oh, should the Raiders tank, or AP's like telling the guys not to play. It's not, it's more of a GM thing. AP's going to do his thing no matter what. It's more of a GM thing, more of a Telesco decision.
It could very well be with a couple of different, high points. It could be a Houston Texans situation where people thought they were another year away, and they said, screw your timetable. Our timetable is now. It's not when you say it is. We're ready to win now. And it could very well be something like that. When you have a defensive group that's played as well as they have, and is looking to play as well as I think we think they can, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to be in a lot of games. Most games, you're going to be in those games, and it just comes down to, at that point, to situational football and execution. And we'll see, man. Favre's like 50-50. He's made a couple of plays down the stretch to get us some wins, and he's also thrown some pretty bad picks to keep us from winning. So we'll see.
To me, there's a couple schools of thought here. Everything you said, Soto, I'm with. We weren't that far off from making the playoffs last season, and that was with Josh McDaniels and like that whole regime getting fired mid-season, the stank of JMD's offense and how bad and poisonous that locker room was all over that team. And we still weren't that far off of being a playoff team, right? With all those things going terrible, with Favre getting thrown in there last second, no QB1 reps, blah, blah, blah. Like, we weren't still that far off. So, 2, we are a better team this year than we were last year. Really, the only loss I think that's going to we'll feel is Josh Jacobs. But we picked up Christian Wilkins. The defense is better this season. A draft class that I think we have some pretty high hopes for. A bunch of second-year players that should be playing better. We should be a better team than last season, personnel-wise. And 2, this is the other part. We're not really built for a fire sale or to move forward. Really, the only veteran that even makes sense to trade away for picks would be Davante. Just signed Christian Wilkins. We're not getting rid of Maxx. We're not getting rid of Colton. These are all guys that you would want if you were rebuilding. You'd want them, right? These are guys in their 25s, mid 20s. It's great. These are guys entering their prime. Maybe we're paying them a lot, but they're they're win now and win later guys, right? Like, you know, Maxx and Colton are still entering their prime. So the only guy that we could really, that makes sense to do a win later mode would be Davante. And I think the cap hit is still crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts this next year.
So that's kind of why, like, I know I said 6. Honestly, we should be like an 8 because there isn't we don't have expensive veterans. Like, we don't have old expensive veterans to move on from to get picks for. So just try to win. Just try to win because like you're not going to move pieces. Like, why hold yourself back for no benefit?
Well, I mean, I think there is a benefit because Telesco is seeing that there are foundational pieces on this team, and he wants to be able to build around them long term for sustained success. So you can be in a better position to go after that one piece and maybe give up some draft capital to do it because you're better situated to do that. So I understand why he's not maybe just going for broke right now, because there is a big question mark at the quarterback position. It's not like the football math doesn't work that way. You can see a player that just plays lights out on one team, goes to another team with a big contract, and it's like, okay, what happened? Different teammates, different system, different coaches, a bunch of different stuff, right? So we don't know how it's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. We can project, a second season, more better coaching, more consistency, this and that. Favre should be a lot better. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen because I think we like to take a look at a lot of the positive things that Aidan O'Connell showed us, but there were some things that weren't all that great. That last 3 quarters against the Chiefs was awful. That Minnesota game was terrible.
Yeah.
That second half against the Colts wasn't all that great. So we got to make sure that we are understanding not only, what we're looking for, but what we're actually seeing and be honest with ourselves, because I think that's one of the things that happens. Like we talked about Josh McDaniels, right? About how Josh McDaniels would coach with his ego. He would coach with himself in mind first. Me, my ego, my decisions, I want to make my stuff look better, right? So he's thinking about himself. Well, we can't look at this team with I want them to win so bad glasses on, because we're going to take the best case scenario out of everything that we see, and that's not normally the case. We have to be a little bit more realistic about stuff if we want a clearer picture.
Well, yeah, and I think the weaknesses on this team are abundant. I don't think there's a secret as to what the weaknesses are. Quarterback, giant question mark. We need another number 1 corner and some depth at right tackle. I don't think there's any. We are surprisingly solid at every single position for a team that like no one's looking at to be a contender. Like we are solid to good everywhere, except for, the most important position, right? QB1, right? Which I understand. But I think also the reason I say 8 is for the reasons I mentioned. And 2, I feel like that's how the Raiders feel, because they made Gardner Minshew potentially the highest paid backup quarterback in football. Wilkins didn't trade away Davante. So they're thinking we're trying to win now, but not a leverage the future win now. And again, just because we're saying like an 8, that doesn't mean we're not always trying to get better. Even
of course,
Super Bowl winning teams are trying to get better. Are we sacrificing the now for tomorrow? I don't think we're doing that. I don't think that's what Telesco drafted that way, but he didn't free agent that way.
And that's a good balance too, because you can have a game plan going in, but who would have thought that the Falcons took the quarterback that was tied to you, a handful of picks before you? You didn't have a shot at that. You didn't have a chance. I mean, Seattle wanted to move up to get Penix, but that blew up in their faces when the Falcons took him. So, I think that going win now mode through the draft, players that can plug in and it can help you right away, I think that's a smarter move than to spend a bunch of money that you don't really need to spend. Yeah, because those young guys that are shown to be productive and highly rated and grade out really well at positions that normally, if they're a good player, they can look at all the tight ends that had come out the last few years. Mm-hmm. the Kincaids and Laportas and all those guys, yeah, those guys came in there right away and they start producing right away. So if Brock Bowers can be something like that, I think. I mean, I said it. He's like the biggest matchup nightmare because what are you going to cover him with? Too big for a DB and too fast for a linebacker. He can help you right away, and he can help with a unique situation that you have at quarterback. You know, a guy that can get open on anybody that's covering him and make plays after the catch. And then on the other side, you have like, you know, a Jackson Powers Johnson. Hopefully he gets, you know, I guess it was confirmed to be a shoulder issue, which was the thing. So he should be fine to come in for training camp, and that plugs a hole that we had on the offensive line. We had that revolving door ever since Incognito was gone. Actually, before Incognito, what was his name? Ended up retiring.
Gabe Jackson.
No, but after him, we signed him from the Colts, and he played a couple years really well, like his 2 best years, and then he got hurt and then retired.
Just fell off.
God
Sounds
damn,
like a lot of guys.
Yeah. Anyway, we tried Incognito, and then we tried a couple other guys. It just didn't work out, right? So that's gonna give us more continuity on the line. He's a younger guy, kind of like what we've been moving forward already with a lot of these positions. Is let's get younger and let's kind of build a little bit more. And I kind of like the whole, like I said it before in the last offseason. Give me the studs and duds. Give me a 1 or 2 high ticket guys who are going to make a big impact, and then fill the roster if you need to with others. Sprinkle 1-year guys, and if they hit, great, we can re-sign them. If not, then no big deal. And that's what we're doing.
And this is a roster where we can pivot to that too, right? So if we started in 8, like we're trying to win, trying to make a splash, we think Farva can be so much better than he was last season. I think this defense is for real. Best special teams in football. You can go in with that mentality. But you can pivot away from it. I mean, let's say we start 1-7. Like Davante's going to want out. He's going to want out. So it's like, okay, now we are thinking future, right? We're trade Davante. If Minshew was starting, we'd pull him, and it would be Farva starting, right? You want the young guy starting to give him experience for the next season. We could pivot. We can easily pivot to winning next season and have a lot of reasons to be excited for next season. So, So you're saying 6. I'm saying 8. We're on the same ballpark.
Yeah, I think our reasoning is the same. Just the numbers are a little off. Yeah,
again, it's mostly 8 because what else could we do other than Davante? Like, it's hard to get out of win now. And I brought this up because we'll get to the articles later. Everyone's like, they need to understand where they're at. ESPN's like, oh, they're not going to win a championship. They need to play for tomorrow. It's like, and then do what? Trade Maxx? Trade Colton? These guys are in their prime. Like, come on.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
In this article we're going to talk about, they talked about trading Colton Miller. I'm like, what? Like, why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being leverage everything for the future, 10 being leverage everything to win a Super Bowl this second, how win now should the Raiders be? Not how win now are they, or how win now do you think they are? How win now should they be? Let us know. Comment section. All right, so ESPN did an article, Seth Walder, and it's important to remember Seth Walder is like more of like analytics-y as far as his coverage is. I think that's important to note because that's how he kind of looks at things, and none of it's right or wrong, but it's just that he's coming from that perspective. Yeah, that's his perspective, and there's a ton of value to it. He graded the offseason of all 32 teams. We got a D. You think, oh, that's still kind of passing for you people that had really shitty grades in high school. Well, that was the second worst. The Saints got last, and we were 31 out of 32 teams grading our offseason. A couple of things he mentioned, something we talked about. The Raiders demonstrated the follies of the move not made this offseason. First, they failed to secure a long-term solution at quarterback. And in fairness to him, he's like, though I don't knock them too heavily for that, Vegas entered the offseason in an unenviable position of needing a quarterback, not having the roster to support a major sign like Kirk Cousins, and drafting last among a slew of QB-needy teams. I mean, it would have taken it would have taken like evil genius level for us to get a franchise quarterback out of this draft and not overpay. And to not be like super pissed that we gave away 3 firsts and Maxx or something to move into the top 3. Like, there was no situation where I think Raider Nation is going to come out of that draft happy with quarterback. And so You gotta be fair.
It would have had to have been a movie. It would have had to have been Draft Day.
Yeah.
That's what it would have had to have been.
Yeah. In lieu of a long-term solution, they paid a non-trivial $50 million guaranteed to Gardner Minshew that was coming off a solid season in Indianapolis. So he addressed the quarterback thing. Instead, the real issue was what they didn't do within the context of not securing a quarterback. The team needed to recognize its non-contender status and should have shifted its focus into acquiring resources. And they mentioned the biggest failure was not trading Davante Adams, which is almost inexcusable in the Raiders' current state. The 31-year-old wide receiver has one cheap year left on his contract, $70.5 million. For a trading team, Las Vegas needed to cash in for draft capital now. Instead, is running out the clock on a depreciating asset. Likewise, the Raiders ought to have traded down and acquired future assets that could have been used on or to support a future quarterback. Soto? Is he bang on? Is it any truth to what he's saying?
I think if you are an outsider that just looks at numbers, I think he has a point, but I don't know that he realizes what went into the numbers that we saw last year. It doesn't seem like he has a lot of faith in or any high expectations in, let's say, what Aidan O'Connell. He said, he gave, backhandedly, but he gave Gardner Minshew some props as far as, he won games, almost got to the playoffs last year. But as far as I think he thinks we're a bottom dwelling team because, you lost Josh Jacobs and you don't have a quarterback, you didn't get a quarterback, and so you can't win. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he's realizing what we were getting consistently year over year with Josh Jacobs. He wasn't the rushing champion every single season. That's not the guy he was. He was kind of fluctuated as far as his play and also his availability. So when he was available and when he was given the lead role, Zamir White performed great, 100 yards a game, like 99 yards a game. So and he played some good defenses too. And there was, we talked about it a billion times. Everything that Aidan O'Connell had to get over last season and why this season should be a big jump forward for him. If you don't take those things, if you don't look at context, if you just look at numbers, it's like just get rid of Davante and get whatever you can for him because you're not going to win. And I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that.
It's like I said earlier, this isn't a roster that is requiring turnover. There's one older dude that's high paid. One. We're not saddled with like 7, $20 million a year contracts, right? Like that's not an issue. That's not a problem. That's not what's holding the Raiders back, is we're just so held back by cap space that we can't do what we want. It's opposite. We got like $30 million in cap space. We're great. And we don't have a ton of holes. Just again, the giant quarterback hole. So I look at this and just like, what's the return on getting rid of Davante Adams? A little cap space that we already have ton of, a bunch of dead cap space that we don't want to use. And what are we going to get out of Davante Adams, who's coming off of the worst season of his career since he became Davante? This is the worst time to trade Davante because he came off his worst season. So it's like, okay, so
it doesn't make a ton of sense.
What other things did you want us to do? What other things did you want the Raiders to do to move forward? If you gave examples of, hey, you could have gotten this for that guy, or you should have drafted this guy, then okay, maybe there's some meat on the bone. But he's just like, well, you didn't draft Davante. That's a huge mistake. You aren't thinking of the future. It's like, well, what else? What the fuck else were we gonna do?
I mean, look, ultimately, Davante hasn't expressed interest in being traded. He hasn't trying to force his way out or anything. He said the exact opposite. He wants to be here. He's I don't know, what was the word that he used? He's at peace with his decision. Mm-hmm. And it'd be foolish to get rid of a player just to get rid of him, especially when he's still being productive, and especially when he's still one of the best players at that position.
And when you're developing a 4th-round, second-year quarterback, it'd be nice if he's got a Davante Adams.
It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Look,
I think a lot of times, are we a Super Bowl contender? No. Are we going to win the Super Bowl? Probably not. I would say there's a overwhelming probability that we won't win a playoff game this year. Mm-hmm. Okay? But that doesn't mean that what we do now can't help us be a contender for years to come. And that's what a lot of teams do when they flame out, is they try a bunch of wild things because they think they're closer than they are, or they take a big swing and a miss on a lot of things, and they end up ruining their chances for quite some time. It's Davante Adams. It's not like it's what is his name? Kenny Golladay, when the Giants gave him a ton of money and he didn't get jack crap out of the guy. It's not that scenario, okay, where you're paying a guy a ton of money and you're not getting anything in return for him. Like, no, you're still getting one of the best receivers in the NFL for what you're paying, and it's a bargain now. I mean, these guys are getting paid more money than him, so and you want to have a guy that can get open even when he's double teamed and triple teamed, whatever. When you have a young quarterback or you have a new system coming in, it doesn't make. It seems like and I said it last week and I'm going to say it again this week. It seems like a lazy take. It's a lazy take because it's the view that everyone has, but nobody looks at context. And I understand it's a bottom line league, right? Either you win or you don't, and you're getting better, you're getting worse. There's no in between, right? But to project the future, you should look at the context of the past. And that's what I think is missing on a lot of these reports from these national guys that don't take the time to see why things happen, not just what happened.
Look, we would all want to have the problem of being saddled with a Pro Bowl quarterback salary, right? Like we would that's the great problem to have. We have a Pro Bowl quarterback. We got to pay him $50 million a year. Okay. That's the cost of doing business in the NFL. But I think these other people are forgetting when we're not saddled with that, everything opens up. Everything opens up. We can pay. He complained that we overpaid for Christian Wilkins. Like, we can afford to do that. We don't have a quarterback. We can afford to keep Davante Adams. We're not paying a quarterback. What are we saving this cap space for? We don't have. It's not going to go anywhere. So I think that's the other part of the context too, is like, well, they overpaid. It's like, did he really overpay? And two, we're $30 million under cap. Why don't you move on from Davante? Well, he's the only older guy that could be that dude. Why would we sign Wilkins and then trade Davante? Like, we're trying to improve or we're not. Like,
it just doesn't make sense.
It's a bunch of all his takes makes, like you said, all his takes make sense in their own little piece, right? In their own little pieces. But when you see where the Raiders are, both by our own doing and where we are by not our own doing, aka not getting a quarterback in the draft, you're like, okay, these are the pieces we have, and this is how we're going to make it work. And we're still under cap. Didn't trade away any draft picks. A lot of continuity with the we're returning 8-9 starters on defense. It's only going to get better. It is fair that everything we're talking about is optimism. Mm-hmm. This defense may not be as good as last season. Farva may not improve drastically. Zamir White might have just been a fluke of just 4 good games. He's not a 17-game running back. These are all possibilities. These
they're very real possibilities.
They haven't proved anything, right? That's fair. They have not proved anything. And outside looking in, you want for sures, and it's not there with the Raiders. Okay. I can see all those pieces painting that picture. But when you look at where the Raiders are in their options, these are all good moves.
I believe so. I don't know that the alternatives would have been any better. Mm-hmm. Especially short term. I think a lot of times we take a look at things long term. I think we take a look at a lot of things in how it's going to help now, but we don't see the effects moving forward. And I think the more the more patient approach, because I mean the optimism for our defense and what the higher ups think the defense can be. I think it allows us to be a little bit more measured in our approach, because I think we feel we can be in a lot more games, and you don't have to constantly win firefights.
Yeah. So one room for us, I didn't think was that big of an issue. I thought, okay, we're fine. And then PFF came out with a grade. Do you know where they ranked our running back room out of 32 teams? Did you see the article yet?
I did.
31st, ahead of only the Dallas Cowboys. 31st out of 32 teams. PFF said it felt like the Raiders were left high and dry watching Josh Jacobs sign elsewhere. Their backfield state is now some combination of Zamir White, Alexander Mattinson, and rookie Dylan Laube. White earned a 70.6 PFF rushing grade last season, while Mattinson recorded 68.4. Is it that bad, Soto? Based on the running back room?
No, I don't think it's that bad. Again, that's the context. It wasn't like Zamir White wasn't used at all until the last 4 games, but he was used in situations and he's a different running back than Josh Jacobs. You can't call the same game as far as the running plays go and the situations and stuff like that. You can't run or block the same for these two guys because there's 2 different backs. Once they were able to say, okay, this is our guy, we have to block for this specific back for his strengths, and this is the game plan we have to use. Once they did that, he performed very well. And your context is king, man. And when you leave it out of the equation, or when you ignore it, it gives you a faulty conclusion.
I'm with you. I think with the Josh Jacobs thing, I think also you and me specifically, I think the bulk of Raider Nation were on board. We're like, Josh, we love you. God bless you. Thank you for those great years. We're not going to pay you that. Best of luck. Right? When you retire, you'll come on the field. We'll give you a round of applause. It's going to be amazing. Thank you for your service. You got the tattoo. We're not going to, we got to spend that money elsewhere. So best of luck to you. Kick rocks.
Just stop talking so much trash already.
Yeah, leave it alone. But, and in fairness to PFF, we don't get points for making that right move, right? We still lost a good running back, right? Just because it was the right cap move, that doesn't mean it's like, well, the room's not that bad because they had to get rid of Josh. The Josh isn't there, right? That productivity of a Pro Bowl running back is gone. So there's that part. Even though it was the right move, we don't get points for that. And I think also with like Madison, I like that the Madison pickup for pennies for depth. I think that was fine. I am concerned about depth in the power running game. Like if Zeus goes down, who do we have that can play an AP style offense that he's talking about? Where we're going to run the ball, we're going to be physical, we're going to get in their face. We don't really have a back like that other than Zeus. And again, we've only seen 4 games of it being really Zeus, of him, getting momentum and, finding his stroke. It's hard to come in and as a backup and be now we demand that of our backup running backs. You got to learn to do it, but it is hard. It's hard to just jump in and be great. Right. So I think I thought our running back room was fine, but this has caused me to reassess it. I don't think it's the second worst running back room. I don't think our run game is going to be bottom basement, but it did make me think, you probably do need a thick bruiser in case Zeus to give Zeus a break, because all of our other running backs are like pass catchers. They're not really, we need 3 yards. This guy can get it for us, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say that we are the 31st accomplished running back room.
Yeah.
Sure. And that doesn't necessarily equate to how good they are or how good they aren't, because sometimes a lot of these guys, all they need is an opportunity, and they'll show you how good they are.
Yep.
And it just shows. I think for the backups, I think the backups are in the right roles, and they are good caliber backups for the roles that they're going to be asked to play. I think this all falls on Zamir White because he's unproven, because he hasn't had as much opportunity, because there's a bigger question mark around him, very similar to our quarterback. Although we may think very highly of him, although we may think that he's going to do much better than what other people do, he hasn't shown it yet. Therefore, grade it down.
I also think I don't feel like this is what Luke Getsy wants to do in his offense, but I think that's what we're going to end up doing. Is it's just going to be a lot more passing plays, but it's going to be a lot of just like short dink and dunks to the running backs as our run plays, because that's just what they're better at, right? These are really good pass catching, route running by running back standards, guys like that. Especially if Zeus goes down, we don't pick up a bruiser. It's going to be like it's going to be a lot of pass. But that I mean, that's kind of what you want if you're developing Farva is here, just
easy passes.
Easy, yeah. Find your
easy pass. That's it's one of the quarterback's best friends is yards after catch. And we have a couple of guys that can do that. So we'll see, man. I just again, it's hard to argue with it when you take a look at it, because look, there's these Raider fans out here, and that's great. And I find myself falling into that a lot too, where it's like, no, man, these guys are great. You're going to see, you'll see type of stuff. I don't like to do the you'll see type.
They're going to get so much better. You don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know. That's the thing. Nobody knows. You take a look at someone's body of work, and over a period of time where you can be confident that they're going to perform at a certain level. We just haven't seen that out of just the two positions that we talked about in running back and quarterback. We just haven't seen that. We know what these players can do given the opportunity, but it's a very small sample size.
We need a fullback. We need just like a bruiser, so our like guys with wiggle can get a little space, and he can be the bruiser. We need like a sick ass fullback. That'd make me happy.
Oh, I can see that.
Just like a battering. Give me a battering ram fullback.
Call Craig Ironhead Hayward to see what he's doing. Remember that guy?
Sure. I bet we can get him for cheap.
Get him for a couple bucks.
Ready to do some what Windbags?
Sure, man. Why not?
Rich Vitale, 38-31. Are we the only team? I like this question. Are we the only team that will be playing our potential starting quarterback in all the preseason games?
Minnesota's going to do it.
I think we're the only team, because the other like quarterback battles in the league are like, all right, we drafted our quarterback of the future. When is he ready? Right? It's not like so much a battle.
Denver's going to do it.
Yeah, Denver. I mean, we will do it, but I don't think we're the only ones that'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, so look, the Bears, yeah, Caleb's the number one, and that's that. The Commanders, number one, and that's that. Jane Daniels, number one, and that's that.
But even if they're number one, they'll probably still see action in every preseason game.
Probably not the third one. Probably not the third one. Probably not. I'm not saying you're flat out wrong, but probably not. Mm-hmm. Drake may. I don't know. We might because I don't think Jacoby Brissett will need to play the third one, because I think he's pretty much solid. I think they know what they have in Jacoby Brissett, so I don't think he's going to have to play the third preseason game.
Well, then they probably have like the practice squad quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's teams that have multiple young unproven quarterbacks. Those guys are going to play it. So it's like, what did I say? Denver, Minnesota, Sam Darnold or JJ McCarthy. Mm-hmm. That can be one. Atlanta, I mean, Kirk Cousins is the unquestioned starter there, so he's not going to play the third game. Yeah, I don't think
and rightfully so. One of them. Like, it's a brand new system, right? Minshew's brand new to the building. I want these guys getting a lot of reps. Like, you do the math, right? Injury potential to the value of the reps, right? You do that math. These guys need fucking reps. Like, they need brand new system. They need reps. You roll that dice a little bit. You're like, yeah, you're going to play all these preseason games just because you need those reps way more than you need to like wrap yourself up in bubble wrap and not get hurt, right? Like, you're young enough. You need to practice. I want them both playing a lot of preseason.
Honestly, man, I don't agree with that. If we are still playing both of them a lot, the third preseason game, we are in deep, deep trouble.
Because they don't know who?
They don't know who. And
I think even if they know who, you play them.
No, honestly, I think the reps for the starter is going to be so much more valuable. The sooner that we can name a starter and name him for the right reason, the better. Because you want the starter to get those reps. What you're doing if you're the longer you wait, you have
I'm with you there. Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I thought you were saying like once you have a starter, pull him so he doesn't get injured.
No.
We're on the same page.
You want the reps. You want the starter to get the reps, especially two new guys in a new system. You don't want to like still have a freaking battle going into the last preseason game. That would be absolutely terrible for us because that's never worked out well for a team. When we got two guys, who's it going to be? It's never worked out well.
Mac, BHD1.
McBud.
Nice one. P.S. Am I allowed to wear my Waller jersey now that he's retired? What about my Renfro one as he's not signed yet? The picture you put up of Bowers, he almost looks like an old Renfro. He kind of does. I didn't pull it up.
I said it. He's a bigger, faster Hunter Renfro.
Same like receding hairline. Same like it's crazy.
Good hands, good route runner, tough after the catch.
So you have stricter rooting for X-Raider rules than me. Waller for sure. He's retired. Sport that jersey all day long.
Sure,
he gave us 2 amazing years.
Renfro's pretty much retired. I don't think anyone's going to sign him.
Once he's free agents. I guess you can wear the free agent one around your house. How about that? You can wear free agent Raiders that might sign somewhere. You can wear them on your property. So you can like mow the lawn in it. You can play with your kids in the backyard. You can't leave the property. Let's put it that way. It's like a 90.
Okay, I will give you a pass for like an Applebee's. a family outing.
A strip club next to the airport. Not a fancy like Spearmint Rhino. Like a strip club next to the airport.
The Peppermint Hippo.
We got to come up with a whole list one day, especially during the offseason. There's not a lot going on. Places you are and are not allowed to wear free agent Raider jerseys. One day. Sam Demand. Soto. Stop making excuses for your cats, bro.
What excuse did I make?
I think when he pooped in your in your bed, you're like,
yeah.
Oh, well, they had this and they had that.
It wasn't an excuse. It's just, what happened. It was just
we're talking about it's context. We're talking context. It's important to have the context.
An unfortunate set of circumstances that just happened to fall right into place that ended up with me having cat shit on my bed. And to his credit, he was trying to cover it up.
Mm-hmm.
He has a weird habit of like trying to cover things even though there's no litter there. Like when he's done eating his wet food, he'll like just do that. Like he's trying to cover it.
Mm-hmm.
He's just or he'll scratch at the side of the litter box to try to cover his poop even though there's no litter. I don't know if he's connected it yet. So he was like pawing at the bed at the comforter trying to cover up the poop, and I'm like, bro, that's not gonna work.
How do you train your cats to crap in a kitty litter box? Do you have to like drop trow and take a dump in front of them and be like, all right, guys, this is how you use a kitty litter box?
Honestly, normally like they just do it themselves. It's like instinctual.
Okay.
Like
so you just take dumps in the kitty litter box just for fun because the cats are.
Well, it's fun for parties.
Yeah.
It's a conversation piece, No, when I first
get them had for lunch.
Yeah, everyone can see the corn in there. So I just grabbed the kitten, and whenever I would introduce a kitten to my place, I just grab them, I'd put them in the litter box, and they would just like sniff around and scratch around, and then they would probably just normally they would just piss and shit on their own. Pretty crazy. I don't know. It's weird. I can't explain it, but they know what to do.
All right, that's it for us. Thank you for joining us. I've been awake for about 40 straight hours, so I'm going to edit this and then crash and dream of whiskey that I can't drink till Sunday. Until then, knock on wood if you're with me.